Dear Endless Love Story viewers, prepare for a journey of the heart that will leave you breathless. This is a tale of love tested by time, distance, and destiny. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Endless Love Story and watch until the very end. Every second is magical and worth it. In the sleepy coastal town of Willow Cove, where the ocean whispered secrets to the cliffs, Elias Harper was a dreamer with a heart too big for his quiet life. At 22, he was the town's beloved lighthouse keeper, a man whose warm smile and gentle kindness could mend even the most broken spirits. His eyes, the color of storm-tossed waves, held a spark of hope that drew people to him like moths to a flame. Every evening, he climbed the spiral stairs of the lighthouse, guiding ships to safety while nursing a dream of his own, a love that would light up his world the way his beacon lit the night. It was the summer of 1995 when he met Lila Monroe. She arrived in Willow Cove like a melody, her laughter bright and her auburn hair catching the sunlight as she sketched the coastline from the cliffs. Lila was an artist, a free spirit passing through on her way to an art school scholarship in Paris. She was 20, bold, and fiercely independent, but when Elias offered her a cup of coffee at the town's tiny diner, something in her softened. Their first conversation stretched into hours, then days, then weeks. They shared dreams under starlit skies, danced barefoot on the beach, and carved their initials into the driftwood by the shore, E&L, forever. But love, as it often does, came with a catch. Lila's scholarship was her ticket to a future she'd fought for, a chance to escape a childhood of struggle and prove herself to the world. Elias, tethered to Willow Cove by duty to the lighthouse and his ailing mother, couldn't follow. On the night before Lila's departure, they stood at the edge of the cliff, the lighthouse beam sweeping over them like a promise. "I'll wait for you," Elias said, his voice steady despite the ache in his chest. "No matter how long it takes." Lila's eyes shimmered with tears. "And I'll come back, Elias. I swear it. 2 years, maybe 3. I'll paint the world, and then I'll come home to you." They sealed their vow with a kiss, fierce and desperate, as the waves crashed below. But life, as it often does, had other plans. The years slipped by like pages in a book Elias couldn't stop reading. He wrote Lila letters, pouring his heart onto paper, describing the way the ocean changed with the seasons and how the lighthouse felt emptier without her. She wrote back at first, letters filled with sketches of Parisian streets and promises of soon. But as her career blossomed, her letters grew sporadic, then stopped. Elias heard whispers of her success, gallery openings, awards, a life unfolding across the ocean. He told himself she was chasing her dreams, that she'd return when the time was right. So he waited, tending the lighthouse, helping neighbors, and keeping his heart anchored to that driftwood promise. In Paris, Lila's world was a whirlwind of color and chaos. Her paintings, vibrant, soul-stirring works inspired by Willow Cove's cliffs, earned her acclaim, but they also tethered her to Elias in ways she couldn't escape. Every stroke of her brush carried his memory, yet the demands of her career pulled her further from the life she'd left behind. A gallery owner in London offered her a residency. A museum in New York wanted her work. Each opportunity felt like a step toward her dream, but also a step away from Elias. She told herself she'd go back when the time was right, when she'd proven enough to the world. But time, as it often does, blurred her intentions. By 2005, 10 years had passed. Elias, now 32, was still the heart of Willow Cove. He rebuilt homes after storms, taught kids to fish, and never let his smile falter, though his eyes carried a quiet ache. One stormy night, a letter arrived, not from Lila, but from her mother. Lila was engaged to a curator in Florence, a man who shared her world of art and ambition. The words hit Elias like a wave, threatening to drown him. He climbed to the top of the lighthouse, staring at the horizon as if he could will her back. He didn't cry. He couldn't. Instead, he whispered to the sea, "I hope she's happy." But Lila wasn't. The engagement, born of pressure and practicality, crumbled under the weight of her heart's truth. She loved Elias, always had. Yet shame kept her silent. How could she return after so many years, after breaking her promise? She buried herself in her work, painting oceans and lighthouses, each canvas a silent apology to the man she'd left behind. The years marched on, relentless. By 2015, Elias was 42, his hair streaked with silver, his smile still warm but his dreams quieter. Willow Cove had changed, new faces, new shops, but the lighthouse stood unchanged, a sentinel of his unwavering hope. He'd never married, never stopped loving Lila, though he'd long since stopped expecting her return. The townsfolk whispered about poor Elias, but he brushed off their pity with a laugh, saying, "Some loves are worth waiting for." In Paris, Lila, now 38, stood at a crossroads. Her latest exhibition, The Light I Left Behind, was her most personal yet, a series of paintings depicting a lighthouse, a cliff, and a love she'd never forgotten. The art world called it a masterpiece, but to Lila, it was a confession. One night, after a gallery opening, she found an old letter from Elias tucked in a sketchbook, its words worn but clear, "I'll wait for you." The weight of 20 years crashed over her. She booked a flight to Willow Cove the next day. It was 2015, late autumn, when Lila returned. The town felt smaller, the cliffs sharper, but the lighthouse stood tall, its beam cutting through the dusk. She walked to the shore, heart pounding, and found their driftwood E&L, forever, still intact, weathered but unbroken. Tears fell as she realized what she'd almost lost. Elias was in the lighthouse when he saw her. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, a vision of the girl he'd loved. But there she was, standing at the base of the cliff, her auburn hair streaked with gray, her eyes searching for him. He ran down the spiral stairs, his heart racing like it hadn't in years. "Lila," he breathed, stopping a few feet away, afraid she might vanish. "Elias," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm so sorry." They stood there, 20 years of longing and loss between them. Then, as if drawn by a force stronger than time, they closed the distance. His arms wrapped around her, and she clung to him, sobbing into his chest. The lighthouse beam swept over them, a silent witness to their reunion. "Why now?" Elias asked, his voice thick with emotion. "Because I was a fool," Lila said, pulling back to meet his gaze. "I thought I needed the world to prove myself. But all I ever needed was you." He cupped her face, his thumb brushing away her tears. "I told you I'd wait." But the story doesn't end there, dear viewers, because love is never that simple. Lila stayed in Willow Cove, renting a small cottage and painting the sea again, this time with Elias by her side. They rebuilt their love slowly, learning each other's scars and dreams. But a twist awaited. One evening, as they walked the cliffs, Lila revealed a secret she'd carried from Paris, a diagnosis. A rare illness, manageable but unpredictable, had been part of her life for years. She hadn't told him, fearing it would burden their fragile reunion. Elias took her hand, his grip firm. "We've lost enough time, Lila. Whatever comes, we face it together." And so they did. They married in a quiet ceremony by the lighthouse, with the town cheering them on. Lila's paintings, imbued with their love, found new life, and Elias, ever the hero, became her rock. When her illness flared, he carried her to the cliffs to watch the sunset. When she painted, he sat beside her, marveling at her strength. Their love, forged through 20 years of waiting, was unbreakable. In 2025, 30 years after they first met, Elias and Lila stood together at the lighthouse, now a museum of their love story. Lila's paintings lined the walls, each one a chapter of their journey. The townsfolk called them the couple who waited, a testament to a love that defied time. On their 30th anniversary, as the lighthouse beams swept over the sea, Elias whispered, "Every second was worth it." Lila smiled, her hand in his. "Forever always is." Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable journey, Endless Love Story viewers. If this tale of Elias and Lila touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Endless Love Story. Watch until the very end, because every moment of love is magical and worth it. Until next time, keep believing in forever.